A few weeks ago, I did an episode questioning what Tesla is going to do to keep their world-class AI team together once they've mostly solved full self-driving, which looks like it's going to happen relatively soon. Well, interestingly enough, it looks like Tesla AI Day might have an answer for us. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. So first of all, if you want to check out that episode, here it is. It basically says, like, is Tesla going to be a victim of their own success in terms of AI? And what I meant by that super brief recap, TLDW, whatever, is the problem is that really world-class AI researchers, or in any field basically, once they've solved like a major problem, they're going to get bored with the diminishing returns, right? So there's the kind of aha eureka moment, there's getting it over the hump into production and making it really, really work. And then there's a really, really long tail that could go on for years of just, modifying things and tweaking little settings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you get this long tail of kind of boring work just to make it as polished as possible. So that's not super interesting to people who are at the cutting edge, right? These are people who want to work on cutting edge stuff. They don't want to sit there and work on the little things and the diminishing returns. And that's not to say that that's a bad thing. I mean, it's fantastic. I think that you need people who will work on that. And so there's, second and third tier people, in terms of quality, and I place myself firmly amongst at least second tier and probably more like third tier in terms of my AI research and everything. But so that's perfectly fine, right? There's plenty of people who will be happy to do that, but the people who are at the forefront, at the cutting edge of research, like AI research, are going to want to have another challenge. And so that was my contention, is that what Tesla would do was turn them loose to work on other challenges. Well, interestingly enough, let's take a look at Tesla's AI Day invite, which, by the way, I still don't have one, so I'm very, very sad about that. Hopefully one will show up in my mailbox one of these days soon. But anyway, for those lucky few who've gotten one so far, I have a copy of the text of the invite. Join us in Palo Alto, California on August 19th, 2021 at 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. This invite-only event will feature a keynote by Elon, hardware and software demos from Tesla engineers, test rides in Model S Plaid, oh, that sounds awesome, and more. Attendees will be among the first to see our latest developments in supercomputing and neural network training. They'll also get an inside look at what's next for AI at Tesla beyond our vehicle fleet. So first of all, sounds like a really, really cool event. You get to see Elon, probably Andre Carpathy will make an appearance, plus other people on the AI team. They'll show off Dojo. Interestingly enough, when I did my episode like 2 days ago, talking about the computer chip that was probably for Dojo, that seems to be relatively confirmed at this point that it's a Dojo supercomputing chip. And I had associated it with Dennis Hong because he was the first one. I didn't have this evidence at the time. I didn't know that that was part of the Tesla AI invite, was that particular graphic. But anyway, I did wonder when I did that, because I was like, Dennis is a robotics expert, not a chip design expert, and so I thought that was a weird image for him to show off. But anyway, apparently that's just, that's like what Apple does. They do their mystery image. Tesla's doing their mystery image here and, promoting the event and saying that, yeah, you want to come here. So Dennis probably has nothing to do with that chip. He just posted that because he was probably one of the first people to get an invite. So anyway, almost for sure we will see something on Dojo's supercomputer, which is going to be very, very cool and very interesting. But the really interesting part is this line. They'll also get an inside look at what's next for AI at Tesla beyond our vehicle fleet. So we have two parts to that sentence: what's next for Tesla and beyond our vehicle fleet. And that really starts to make, little bells go off in my head, plus a bunch of other people. I'm going to link an excellent video that Dave Lee did yesterday down below. He's a fantastic YouTuber, really, really knowledgeable about all of that stuff. And he also was, helping to get the wheels spinning in my mind as well. And Dave, if you haven't gotten an invite to Tesla's AI Day yet, I sure hope you do. So anyway, the what's next part is really interesting because, as I said in that episode about, what is Tesla going to do to hold on to their best talent? And by the way, Elon Musk said the specific reason for AI Day is to recruit the world's best AI talent. So that's the only reason. They don't care about media or anything else. So you have to throw them a carrot, right? Or a bone or something like that, right? I guess it's the donkey, right? I mean, you put the carrot in front of the donkey and it moves the cart, right? So there you go. Anyway, so I think that you have to throw out something that's going to be appealing to these AI researchers. So they need something that's next, and that is very, very good. And that means Also, again, for really, really positive for Tesla as a company, it means they really feel like full self-driving is a pretty much solved problem at this point. And I think this is also important. Elon has tweeted out many, many times that solving full self-driving is solving a big chunk of real-world AI. So hold on to that thought. Real-world AI, big chunk of that, right? So there's a big solution is being done, not just for cars. We've got something that's more broadly applicable right now. And then the second part of that sentence that's really interesting is beyond our vehicle fleet. So this means that the announcement is not going to be about Tesla automobiles. It's going to be about something else. And I had speculated maybe, AI in medicine, AI in other things, but what we have here, and it's really interesting because a lot of people are like, ooh, maybe Tesla will make robots and we'll have robots. But Tesla already makes robots. I've talked about this in many episodes up here. Tesla makes robots and they don't make computers. Robots are different from computers in their kind of way that they interact with the world. But full self-driving automobiles, autonomous automobiles are robots, right? They take input from the world and they output it in terms of some sort of control thing like turning the car, braking, accelerating, etc. So that already is a robot. So Tesla makes robots already. So I think we have to kind of go beyond, okay, Tesla's going to make robots. The question is, what is Tesla going to do? And thus far, what I've seen from people who've talked about this at this point is they're talking about applications, right? So they're saying like a delivery service, or I actually threw out, that they might do a lawnmower, right? So they could have a robo lawnmower, which would be an obvious thing to do after a car. I talked about that actually ages ago. By the way, I'm really closing in very, very close to 300 episodes. I think this is 287 right now. But anyway, I wonder if anybody in the world besides me has actually watched all of them. I had to watch them because I edited them. But anyway, I wonder if anybody's watched them all, but it's a lot of episodes. It starts to get a little overwhelming. But so anyway, way back like a year ago, I did one on a Tesla robot mower because I hate mowing the lawn and I think it would be an ideal solution. And I know there's dumb ones out there, but I thought, Tesla could use their vision system to actually mow the lawn effectively. So anyway, there's an application. Last foot delivery, as it's called, like going from an automobile to deliver your package to your front door, which may mean, going across the driveway or a short walkway or something along those lines. That is also a big application, but it's just an application. So let's take a step back here to think about this. What I want to talk about here today is a platform. A platform is a very different thing from an application. A platform, so let's take the Tesla Roadster, which was their first automobile. That's an application. That's building a sports car. Building a platform is building a multitude of transportation vehicles to get you around, right? So that entails a sports car, which is cool. And by the way, I'm doing an interview with Jordan, who actually bought one of the original Roadsters. I'm really fascinated to hear what he has to say about that. I'm actually going to do that in about 50 minutes. So I'm trying to record this episode quick so I can get on this and talk to him about that. Anyway, that episode will come out in a couple of days. You should subscribe so you can catch that because it'll be really interesting, I'm sure. But anyway, the Roadster was a specific application, but it was not a platform. A platform is a transportation platform, and it's an EV and autonomous transportation platform is what Tesla is building. And that's what they're building out, right? And the next vehicles they have is a Cybertruck for sure. They're likely going to have something like a van. They'll definitely have the semi-truck coming out, et cetera, et cetera. So they're working on creating an entire transportation platform on the roads. So let's hold on to that thought as well. And now, what is Tesla AI really, really good at? What they're good at is vision. It's remarkable how good their vision systems are. Vision only, right? No other things like LiDAR or radar necessary. Vision recognition and processing and navigation. Those are all things a car has to do at extremely high speed and very efficiently in order to move down a road. What might Tesla be lacking in that they could use help with? I would say control output systems. So a car as a robot is really complex on the input side, right? You've got to input all of this visual data, you've got to process it, and you've got to make a decision. On the output side, it's super easy. It's press and accelerate, right? Electronically press an accelerator or a brake and turn a wheel, right? There's just 3 output controls and they're all relatively simple output controls. So what they're not so good at is things like balance and other types of mobility and stuff. And now let's turn back to Dennis Hong, right? The professor at UCLA, did the episode on him if you're interested. He runs Romello, which is the robotics media lab at UCLA. And he, interestingly enough, when I tweeted out about my episode, he very kindly responded and said he couldn't watch it at the time because he was on an airplane flight to Boca Chica, Texas. Interesting, right? So hold on to that as well. So why would Dennis Hong be traveling to Boca Chica, Texas, which is SpaceX's launching headquarters, right? Where they're building the Super Heavy and the Starship, and darn, those things are pretty amazing looking at this point. First of all, of course, Elon Musk might just be a nice guy and be like inviting him there. And quite honestly, I would be a real cheap date. I would go anywhere in the world with Elon. So, but anyway, so Dennis is getting to go to Boca Chica. Really, really cool. But what professionally might be interesting about Boca Chica to a guy who does robotics and has a connection with AI with Tesla? And just as a quick aside, the Everyday Astronaut's interview with Elon Musk at SpaceX was fantastic. But one little tidbit that came out of that was that they're using Tesla Model 3 motors to turn the grid fins on the Super Heavy. So obviously there is a synergy between SpaceX and Tesla. I mean, it makes sense since Elon Musk is the CEO of both companies. But anyway, what would bring Dennis there in a professional sense rather than just being a tourist and looking around, which is perfectly fine, and that might be the case, and I'm speculating here. What I thought of immediately was Zeus, which is the Boston Dynamics quadrupedal like dog robot, right? So they have that out there that it can go out and it can roam around and it can go to dangerous places that human beings might not be able to because of toxic fumes or potential explosions, etc. So it's a really cool little addition. Interestingly enough, I think a lot of people think that Boston Dynamics robots are completely autonomous. They're really not. They're mostly remote controlled. What they have is a balance system and a way to stay upright and a way of walking. You know, they have a lot of really, really cool stuff, but the actual navigation, as far as I understand it at least, is much more remote controlled. So you have a guy over there moving it around and it's doing its thing. And what is Dennis Hong's specialty? Well, he does mobility robots, and his #1 publication or talk that he has on his website, which is a decade old right now, is something about driving for the visually impaired. So now we can start to put all of this stuff together. Let's imagine for a second that you're a visually impaired person and you get an autonomous vehicle, right? So it's a couple of years from now, you get a robo-taxi and you're going to a store in a downtown area of a town somewhere, right? So the robo-taxi takes you to a curb and it drops you off, say, 30 or 40 or 50 meters or 100 meters away from whatever destination you're going to. And maybe it's up some stairs also. Well, if you're visually impaired, this is fantastic. You've got mobility. I've talked about this before, how autonomous vehicles will allow visually impaired people or elderly people or something to have mobility that they don't currently have because, of course, they can't get a driver's license. But once you get out of the vehicle, you're back to square one again, right? You're either tapping with a cane or having to use a guide dog or something along those lines. But what if you had a robotic quadruped, right? So if you had a robotic dog that could guide you that last 50 meters or 60 meters or even into the store and help you look around and find whatever it is that you're looking for, that you're shopping for, right? So you're going shopping for deodorant. I don't know why deodorant popped into my head. Probably because I just came from the gym. All of my good ideas come from the gym, so today's idea is a good idea. My best ideas always come from when I'm biking. So anyway, I think this is a good idea. We'll see how it goes in terms of AI Day and whether I have anything to do with the correct answer or not. But anyway, so you go in there and you're buying deodorant or something like that. Well, a robotic dog would be fantastic because visually it can scan the area, it can find the deodorant section, it can tell you which one you want, and it could guide you to picking out the right one and take you back to the cash register, etc. Right? So this is a really cool application, but what we've got here is a platform, right? We've got a quadrupedal robot that has Tesla's brains inside of it. So take full self-driving hardware 3, stick it inside of this thing, and we already have street navigation. It already understands what roads are, etc. It already understands what pedestrians are. It understands what sidewalks are. It understands what many, many city objects and obstacles are. So it can navigate a city. So this would be sort of, in my mind, like the Roadster version of the Tesla transportation platform. So why do I say that the platform is quadrupedal as opposed to bipedal? Well, #1, bipedal balance is exceptionally difficult. Quadrupedal balance is much better. And also, I think that there's a level at which people will accept something that looks like a dog in terms of a robot better than a person. Otherwise, we're going to end up in like Terminator land and people are going to be freaked out by it, right? But even if it's a fake dog, if it's on the order of the same size as, let's say, a medium-sized dog like my Huskies or something, that's cute in a way, right? So that's something that people can get behind. So here we have the initial stages of a platform. This is something that Dennis Hong obviously is dear to his heart because it's still the #1 publication that he has on his site, even though it's a decade old. So obviously mobility for the visually impaired is a big deal for him. And so tying autonomy to some sort of canine robotic guide dog to move people around is fantastic. There's also an immediate application in terms of last foot delivery. And Dave Lee has talked about this, right? He said that, these robots could be used for that. So think about a quadrupedal dog with kind of a flat back on it or something that has potentially like 2 extra manipulator arms, a little bit creepy. It looks more like a crab. But anyway, way. It could load something onto its back like a small package and then walk from the street up your driveway to your front porch, and it could drop off the package, and then it could go back, get in the car, the autonomous car, right? Your Tesla van or something like that, that has a bunch of packages in it, and then it goes on to the next location. So what you've done is you've taken the human driver and the human package deliverer out of the equation there, which makes things much cheaper. So that's another relatively immediate application that would also be massively profitable for Tesla, because of course they could rent this service out to Amazon, maybe not Amazon because Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk seem to not get along that well, but maybe FedEx or UPS or something, they would be interested in this, and certainly other companies around the world like DHL and companies like that. And then let's cast our minds a little bit further afield, right? These dogs, these things do not have to be dog size. They can get up to horse size or something. And so then you could allow human beings to ride these robo horses into places where there are no roads. And if you think about this for just a second, roads are an incredibly artificial construct, right? It's an amazing thing. The Romans built a road system, which is still one of the, I think that and the aqueducts are considered to be the most lasting technological innovations of Rome. So that's pretty cool, and their roads still exist. And we have built, I mean, the engineering involved in building roads around the world is just amazing, right? And wheels are really cool, but wheels only work on flat surfaces like roads. So both by the fact that the world is really, really big, and also the fact that we really don't want to pave over the entire world, we have many, many places. Most places in the world are non-paved. They're not roads. So what do you need to get around on those? Well, something like a horse works really, really well, right? It's a quadrupedal animal that you could ride on, and it can step over things. It can go up very steep hills into mountains. It can go, across relatively low stream beds, et cetera, et cetera. So a roboticized version of a horse would be an amazing invention, and again, a little bit further in the future, but what a fantastic way to get around for people who need to get around in places that are not paved. And then of course we can go even bigger. You can take a quadrupedal form and you can make it crane sized, right? So those lift cranes that they have at like San Pedro port, et cetera, where the ships come in and unload, you could get one of those things with giant legs. I mean, we start looking at like Star Wars land right now, right? It starts to look like the AT-AT walkers or something. But you get these things with 4 legs and you have a crane in between them. And if they can start moving around and walking and navigating these spaces as opposed to just being solid constructions, that is an interesting potential future outcome of all this. And then my Twitter buddy Dusty Green made me think about yet another thing that is really, really important and ties Tesla and SpaceX together, which is Mars exploration. How useful would a robotic dog be on Mars? Or a robotic horse for that matter, right? So something that's your companion that can carry things, that can go scout things out for you, or something that you can ride, because there's not going to be roads on Mars when people get there. I hate to disturb you, right? There's no little green men who built roads everywhere. But anyway, a horse-sized quadruped and a dog-sized quadruped would be absolutely critical to being able to explore and efficiently get around on Mars. So those are really, really interesting possibilities. And the fact that these things, especially something like a robotic dog with a full vision system and AI, could go out and explore Mars on its own. I mean, heck, we don't even need people to be there yet. As opposed to these Mars rovers, what if the first robot rover that SpaceX sends to Mars is actually a Tesla quadrupedal, dog / horse or something that has full autonomy and can explore on its own? So it's not sitting there waiting for the giant light communication delay, go back and forth, walk 3 meters this direction and wait for instructions, right? It just turns it loose and it says, go find an interesting place that looks like it might have used to have water on it or something. And it just walks over there and then it deploys some instruments to do some tests there. And of course, there are many other possibilities that I haven't even really thought of yet. But this is the advantage of a platform. And this is something that's world changing, and I could see Tesla and Elon Musk getting behind. An individual application is just too small for Elon. What he's looking for is platforms that can change the world and or change Mars. So I think that a quadrupedal robot or something along those lines, maybe it won't be like a dog, but I think a dog might be a good first case because human beings will react well to it. And you can't forget about the psychology. Something that looks like a weird spider crab creature walking across the ground is going to freak people out. So, something that's more like a dog is going to help matters out much more. But anyway, that's what I see coming. Complete off the wall prediction. I probably am way, way wrong. But if I'm right, I want some kudos for this. But so anyway, what I'm seeing is a quadrupedal platform that starts with things that are enabled for city type of environments, because that's what Tesla Vision is already really, really good at. And that will extend out to much smaller and much larger sizes over time. And it will extend out to many, many different applications. But that's the platform that I see. That's my prediction for Tesla AI Day. We'll see what happens. All right, I hope you found this episode fun and enjoyable and thought-provoking. If you did, definitely like it so other people can find it, and also consider subscribing for more of this. And for those of you interested in investing, check out WeBull, an amazing platform for buying and selling stocks, and now cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and others. Open an account and get a free stock valued at up to $200, and fund your account and get another free stock valued at up to $1,600. Check out the link in the description and help the channel at the same time. Thank you. And don't forget about our merch store, which now has physics is the law, everything else is a recommendation, which is a quote by Elon Musk, as well as other t-shirts, mugs, tumblers, etc., etc. Check it out in the description. As always, a huge shout out to my patrons on Patreon. Thank you all so much for your support this summer. I really do appreciate it. And finally, don't forget we are both Tesla and Amazon affiliates. If you look in the description, you can see how going shopping for a Tesla, a solar roof, a Powerwall, or anything on Amazon helps out the channel. And as always, don't forget to ask me questions in the comments or at my email address, which is drknowitallknows@gmail.com. Till next time, bye-bye.